PK in the universe, and today I'm here to talk about the Atari VCS Onyx All-In Bundle. I recently picked this up at GameStop. I actually ordered it from GameStop's website. It was a flash sale. I found out about it on Twitter, and it was going for $99. This was about 2 weeks ago from the time of this recording, and I've been having a ton of fun with this thing. The system has a total of 2 USB ports on the back and 2 on the front, an HDMI port, Ethernet port, and of course the plug. And then here is, of course, is the button you use to turn it on. The system included an HDMI cable, of course, a power cord. It also came with 2 controllers. It came with this classic controller, and it came with a modern controller. Personally, I think this classic controller is trash. I hate this thing. Some people, will swear up and down they love it, but I just think it's nostalgia or something. The modern controller, on the other hand, is great. I actually think this is it's got a little bit of weight to it. I don't much care for the D-pad personally, but it works. It gets the job done. What's also nice is, of course, you can actually use a mouse, and you can also use a keyboard if you want to. So you got a lot of options. This system has its own unique operating system and its own Atari store that allows you to buy indie games, classic Atari games like 2600 and 7800 games, games from the Atari Recharge series, which have exclusive features and levels not available on other platforms, and some DOSBox games. The system also comes with the first volume of Atari Vault, which has a mixture of Atari Arcade and 2600 games. You can buy the second volume for $5 on the store. The system also has Google Chrome built into it, so you can play Google Stadia on this. This system also comes with AntStream Arcade, which is a retro gaming streaming service. It's got a lot of mixture of classic and indie games on it. Think of it as like Evercade for people who don't want to own physical cartridges and just want to stream games as opposed to owning them digitally or buying them digitally. It also has a lot of the same games as I mentioned in a previous video that Evercade has, but it also has its own unique games too that aren't on there. It's also free with ads, but there's also a premium version which you can get at a very discounted rate, which is very nice. There's a little thing that's included here, so you can get it like for $40 for a year on with the Atari VCS link. So that's pretty awesome. You can also download something called Air Console, which is basically, it's a video game streaming service, and you play with your phone using that as a controller. Kind of like how the Intellivision Amico could have been, maybe? Who knows? One of the other big selling points of this console is it's got PC mode. PC mode allows you to put another operating system, such as a Linux system or Windows 10. In fact, you can put a Windows 10 on this, like a little USB drive or whatever, or you can use a portable hard drive or solid, or whatever kind of hard drive you want to do. You could put one in physically, but that's more work. A lot of people do choose to do that, and there's videos on how to do that. And I can honestly say from personal experience, putting this on Windows 10, if you're even slightly computer illiterate, is pretty easy and straightforward. In fact, there's a 14-page PDF on how to do it, which might sound overwhelming, but it's really, really easy. Just make sure you have enough space. Like this is 128 gigs. I would recommend getting even a bigger one, but this is definitely, I thought, was enough space. You definitely need something that's more than 32, I'll tell you that much. You can do a lot with Windows 10. Obviously, you can download Steam, and you could turn this console into a Steam box. Or there might be some games that are not available on the Atari OS, and you might want to just, bring your own fun and turn this into the ultimate Atari box, or put other kinds of games in it. You do you. But what is this thing? Who is it for? Well, let's talk about what it is not. What it's not is an Atari flashback system. This is an Atari flashback system. In fact, this is the very first one. The sole purpose of something like this is to play old games. That's it. That's all it does, is play old games. This thing does so much more than play old games. What it's not is the Ouya. Some people have compared it to the Ouya, and I don't know what they mean by that. Do they mean by technology-wise? Because they would be wrong. This is not just simply an Android box. Again, this is has PC architecture. During the time when the Ouya was being hyped, it was talked about like it was going to be some kind of big revolution in gaming, and that it was going to disrupt the gaming console market, and it really didn't do that. In a lot of ways, I think the successor to the Ouya is, modern Android boxes, or even like Apple TV. And, there's so many games you could download or whatever that on actual, phones that you can download on an Android box or something like that. So to me, those are the real successors to the Ouya, not this thing at all. And this one might shock a lot of people. This is not a game console. This is not a game console in the sense that the PS4 or the Xbox One is a game console. I feel like there was a lot of comparisons early on or whatever from people who were speculating, because I never saw Atari actually address it that way or approach it that way, but I think a lot of people maybe had the wrong impression that this was just simply another game console to compete with Xbox and Sony, and it really isn't at all. In a previous video before I got my Atari VCS, I had kind of imagined that this was a console PC hybrid, and that's what I had described it as. And there's a term for it. It's called a mini PC. There are tons of mini PCs on Amazon. In fact, if you look up Atari VCS on Amazon, the first two results that come up are two mini PCs. That's right, two mini PCs come up first and then the Atari VCS. And both these mini PCs are competitively priced with the Atari VCS. The Atari VCS, of course, it retails at around $400. It's also like, I think on Amazon it's like $375 here or something like that. Yeah, but most places, yeah, it retails at $400. There's a lot of mini PCs that are the same price or more, but are more powerful. And then there's mini PCs that are less money and less powerful, and some just as powerful, if not more, than the Atari VCS. So in a nutshell, the Atari VCS is basically a mini PC that happens to have a really cool Atari shell and has its own unique Atari OS. So who is this console for, basically? I don't feel like it's for the console gamers. I don't feel like it's for people like me who already have $1,000 PC in their arsenal. It's not for people who want just to buy an Atari flashback on a whim. It is for people who are nostalgic for Atari and want to get into the mini PC game or want to dabble in mini PCs. That's who this console is for. But what is it worth? Is it worth $400 to me? No, absolutely not. There are other mini PCs that are just as capable. They don't come with a cool Atari controller or anything, but they exist. Is it worth $200 to $250? Maybe. Is it worth the $100 I paid for it? Absolutely. This was a steal, and I am very happy that I got this. In a previous video, I talked about my Atari VCS story. I owned an Atari 2600 back in the 90s. I had gotten from a friend that had a bunch of games, and I think I traded that for an old Gateway computer, which my parents eventually threw out. And later on, I had an Atari Darth Vader, the 2600 Vader system, and I really like that thing. I love a black Atari. Currently, I have an Atari VCS. It's a Light Sixer, and it was my mom's family's original Light Sixer. So that's, in a nutshell, my Atari VCS story. And so it's really nice to have, the black Atari again, too. And it's a really modern, sleek-looking console, really, for an Atari thing, So it's retro in every sense of the word because it looks old, but it's modern at the same time. Something else people have been speculating about is, why did GameStop discount this? Does this mean like Best Buy is going to do this eventually? Micro Center is not even stocking these anymore. Personally, my theory why GameStop decided to do this is they probably had a lot of product that they wanted to get into their warehouse, and they had all these Atari VCSs sitting around wasting space. So they're like, well, let's just take a loss on these things and just get them out of here. I think that's exactly what they did, and they stored a bunch of other stuff that they knew they could sell much quicker and get out. So that's my theory. I think they've probably manufactured as many as they're going to manufacture, and I don't think they'll make a new system anytime soon, a new mini PC, but you never know what they could do. It's interesting. I think they're definitely shifting away and focusing more on, making third-party stuff, or games for third parties like a Nintendo Switch and stuff. That was the Recharge series. But it's nice that they're throwing a bone to the hardcore Atari people that bought the VCS, or people like me who got this $100 bundle, with the Recharge games, having the Recharge games have exclusive features on them. So that's really great. Overall, would I recommend most people go out and buy an Atari VCS? No, especially not at retail price. But I think it's absolutely worth it to have gotten it at the $100 price. You can do so much with this thing, especially if you put Windows 10 on it. I mean, you could make games, using your Atari VCS as a computer, which is pretty freaking sweet. And yeah, I think it's a nice little mini PC, and it's a great way for people who are nostalgic for Atari, who want to dabble in the mini PC game, to get into the mini PC game by getting one of these bad boys. So, yeah, overall, I'm happy with it, and I'm happy I got it. Man, you know, I was one of those people who used to say it's a scam or whatever. There's no point in having this. But now that I have one, I'm like, this is a fun, quirky little device, and I am enjoying the freaking crap out of it. So, anyways, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you still think this is a scam, no matter what I say? Did you take advantage of GameStop's $99 fire sale? Were you somebody who got one of these on day one or maybe later on? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome in this universe. Thanks. Bye.